Hey guys, welcome back to the Toski Family Farm. It's been a couple of weeks since we put our new queens in the hives, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to do a full hive inspection on all 8 hives today. Make sure everyone's doing all right. It's been about 2 weeks, so we'll see if they've gotten up into these upper boxes in the back here and started to build on that foundation. And then we'll see if they've started to put any nectar in the top boxes and the front ones here. So we'll go ahead, we'll get these all unbuttoned, and then we'll get into it. So we'll go ahead and we'll just start in the front here. Looks like right off the bat there's quite a few bees already up in this top box. It definitely looks like they're getting in here and working. So far, not a lot going on these outside frames. Starting to get a little bit of nectar into this one. Here we can see they're starting to build on this comb. They definitely are starting to put some nectar into that frame. It's almost full. Same thing with this one. They're building out where they need to. It's almost full of nectar. We'll bring this one up here. You can see they're already starting to cap some of this honey off here. Another one full of nectar. Starting to cap that one off as well. Another one full of nectar starting to get capped off. This one's about half full of nectar, maybe a little bit better. And this one looks like they're starting to build up on. So that's pretty good. What do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of our 10 frames are pretty full of nectar, and they're starting to work on the other ones. I think 4 of those 6, they were actually starting to cap off already. At least 3 of the 6. So it'll be good. We'll definitely get some honey out of this one this year. Get this top box done back up. And we'll get into this hive and see how they're doing down here. Imagine to see a lot of the same down here. So this is the problem that we get when we don't paint these frames. You can see that they've built up over top of the foundation there. And so we'll have to get some of those painted frames out here and get them put onto these hives. There were a few that we didn't have enough drawn comb to do earlier this year. But this hive's doing good. I can see some larvae in there. I can see a lot of capped brood in there. So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to put them back together. Next time we come out here, I'll bring out some better foundation for them. That way hopefully they'll start to build up that lower box. But seeing the larvae, seeing the brood, I'm pretty confident that queen's doing well in there. And just by the amount of bees that's in this hive, I can just tell they're doing well. So we'll leave them alone. We'll get them buttoned back up, move to the next one. Nothing going on in those first couple of frames. It's like they're just starting to put a little nectar into that one. That one looks pretty full of nectar there. This one's got a decent amount of nectar in it, and they're starting to cap some of that off. Some nectar going in there. A little bit of nectar going into that one. Alright, this one is actually full of larvae. So I can tell that the queen's been up in here and she's been working. So I'm happy with that, to know that she's still laying. They're definitely putting some nectar in. We're trying something new this year. I've always struggled to get them to get up into these top supers and work on them. And so we're actually not putting queen excluders in. So we will end up with some frames up in the honey supers that are going to have brood and larvae in them. But when it comes time to when we're getting ready to pull these supers off and extract the honey, at that point we'll go ahead and we'll put queen excluders in, and we'll let all those larvae hatch out and it'll be good to go. Move on to the next one here. So all these ones in the back row here, I didn't have any drawn out comb for them, so this was all just the painted frames, and I can already see that they've been working pretty hard in here. So we'll get a couple of these frames pulled out so we can work, and then we'll show you what they've been up to in here. Looks like they're starting to draw some comb on that one there. So as you can see here, this frame was just painted with beeswax 2 weeks ago. They have this fully drawn out. It's all nice and attached to the foundation, and it is completely full of nectar already. So you can see the help that brings by just taking the time to melt down some beeswax and paint those frames with a little extra. See how many of these are actually fully drawn out. The one I grabbed right before this, they are starting to work on right now. But that's one fully drawn out there. Here's another one that's fully drawn out and packed full of nectar. Here's a third one fully drawn out, packed full of nectar. And here is a fourth one fully drawn out, full of nectar. So in 2 weeks' time, they've not only fully drawn out 4 of those 10 frames and started on a 5th one, but they've actually packed 3 of them full of nectar as well. So we'll get all these frames put back in, then we'll get down into that lower box and see what the queen's doing down there. Very happy with how this hive's doing. Give them a little bit of smoke. So this, take a minute and talk about this. This hangs on the side of the box and it allows you to take a couple of frames out. That way you can set them on the edge of this, and then it just gives you a little bit of room to work. Man Lake makes this, and it's definitely well worth the money. That frame holder will also hold 3 hive frames on it. And you can put the deeps, or you can put these super frames on it. But I can see larvae in here, I can see cap brood, so I'm pretty happy with that. I can definitely tell that queen's in there working. So we're going to go ahead and button them back up and leave them alone. This next hive that we're going to get into is one of the 2 hives that we put the new queen into. So we might have to dig a little bit deeper into that box to find where she's been laying and doing her work. So let's get this one buttoned up, and then we'll jump into that one and see how things are looking. You can definitely tell with having our queen issue here, there's definitely not as many bees in this box. The last 3 boxes, the upper super has been completely full of bees. But these ones are obviously going to be behind them by quite a bit. It doesn't even look like they've been up into this top box at all yet working. So we'll get down into this next section and see what's going on in here. Definitely more bees down in this section. A lot of nectar in here. It's been dried out and capped off. This next frame's a really good example, so I'll bring that over to you guys and show it to you. This hive's definitely been at work. You can see this whole section here. This is all nectar that they've dried out into honey and capped off. You can see on this side is the same. So even for not having a queen, they're still working pretty hard in there. But we'll go ahead and get into that bottom box and see if we can find any eggs. Looks like most of this top box is going to be nectar and capped off honey. I assume on our 2 hives that went queenless there for a while, we're going to have to go down into that bottom box to find them. You can definitely feel just from the weight of that there's definitely a lot of honey in there. We'll give them a little smoke. Peel into these and see how they're doing. A lot of nectar, some pollen. This side's got a lot of pollen. A lot of nectar, some pollen. Starting to cap some of that off. All right, and that is a great sign right there. I have some fresh laid eggs from our queen. And the next frame is full of cap brood. So this queen is doing well. So this hive should begin to bounce back now. So we'll go ahead and we'll get these guys put back together. And we'll close them up. Very happy to see that. That is one hive saved. Had we not put that queen in there, this hive would have ultimately failed and we would have lost it. So we'll get these guys put back together, and then we'll jump over to this other one. We'll go ahead and start on the front ones again. As you can see here, this just slides right onto the side of your box. It allows you to get these first couple of frames out of your way. Nothing going on those first few frames. Looks like they're starting to build up some foundation on this one. Starting to work on it. A little bit of nectar in here. A little bit of building going on that one. Same thing there. Same thing. This one here is feeling pretty full of nectar. So we'll go ahead and we'll get this super buttoned up and we'll move down into the next chamber. Give them a little bit of smoke. Just helps keep the bees nice and calm while you're working with them. So like this is one of those hives that I had some unpainted super frames in there. So next time we come out, we'll definitely have to bring some of those with us. All right, and in here, once again, I can see some larvae. So I know she's working in there. So we'll go ahead and get these guys buttoned back up and put them back together. lot of bees up here in this top box. Give them a little smoke. Let's get in and see what they've been up to. Starting to get some nectar into that frame. A little bit of nectar in that one. This frame's pretty full of nectar. I've been doing a good job of building out on that. Same thing with this one, pretty full of nectar. They're starting to build out. This one's pretty full of nectar, and they're just starting to cap off some of these cells. This one's also pretty full of nectar. So we'll go ahead and we'll jump down into this next box. See if we can see any signs of the queen. Alright, and I can see some larvae in there, so we'll go ahead and put them back together. This is another box that we didn't paint the frames in. Painting the frames is something we just started doing. All of these come with a small wax coating on them, but it's just not enough to entice the bees to build right on that foundation. With a couple of hives that we've looked at so far, that we went ahead and we painted those frames with a nice thick layer of beeswax. They all seem to be doing really well with building directly on that foundation. So it's definitely something that we're going to continue to do in the future. I'll get a bunch of them painted up here in the next week or two, and then when we come out for our next inspection, I'll go ahead and swap all those out. Alright, does not look like this hive's come up into the super at all yet. Let's get that out of the way. Little concerning, because there's not a whole lot for bees up into this box either. This was the hive that we grabbed brood out of, and slightly concerned that we may have lost our queen out of this hive when we did that. But we'll get down into this bottom box and see what's going on. Could just be the effects of taking a frame of brood from this hive. But there are not a lot of bees in here. Alright, so it does appear that we have yet another queenless colony. So we'll just button them back down. We'll check this next hive and then we'll address that afterwards. Alright, this frame does have eggs in it. So I'm pretty happy with that. All right, so at this point, we are going to try to save this hive. I don't think I have time to go ahead and order a queen. They have been building queen cups in there, and so they're definitely ready. All they need is an egg to be able to move over. So what I'm going to do, this hive here and this hive here were our two strongest. This hive has to build their comb. This hive has drawn comb. So since this hive is a little bit further ahead than them, and they won't be impacted as much by losing a frame. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take a frame that has some eggs, some larvae, some cap brood, and I'm going to move it over to this bottom box over here. And hopefully they'll take one of these eggs, they'll put it into one of their queen cups, and they'll make their own queen. And hopefully that will help that hive out and get it back on its feet. We'll go ahead and we'll pull one of these empty frames out. And let's start looking for a good candidate frame. So we got cap brood, we got larvae. Do we have any eggs? So that could be a potential frame there. Let's check this next one and see what it looks like. Could also be a good potential frame. I do believe I saw some eggs in there. We'll check one more. All right, so it does appear that we have cap brood larvae and eggs in here. So I think this is the frame that we're going to go ahead and take. We'll go ahead and just try to brush most of these bees back into their hive. If a few of them go over, that's fine. We're going to go ahead and we're going to try to find that frame that has our queen cups on it. And I'm going to put the eggs right next to those queen cups for an easy transition. So we'll go ahead, we'll button these hives back up. And hopefully that will save that colony. That is the best we can do without having to order a queen. And I just don't think we have the time to order a queen right now. We'll be very busy in the up and coming weeks. And I'm just not going to have the time to get back out here with a queen. This is essentially the same thing you do with a walkaway split. You just make sure that there's eggs and larvae in one, and you make sure that there's a queen in the other. If the bees know they do not have a queen, they will try to make a queen. So they have already been trying over there, they just didn't have the eggs available. So get everybody all buttoned back up. All right, definitely having a bit of a rough go to the start of this season. That is our third queenless hive. I definitely think this one is my fault. This is the hive that we grabbed our brood from, and she either got out of the hive and something happened, she got smushed, or she was accidentally transferred into this hive. I did not see a queen on that frame when I transferred it, but we'll go ahead, we'll try that out. We'll come back out in a couple more weeks, do another check on the hives. It's gonna be a busy couple of weeks for us, so it'll probably be at least 3 weeks before we get back out here. But that's all we're gonna have for this video, guys. We'll see you in the next one.